All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hopefully, it's a happy Saturday for you. Welcome to today's Microsoft Flight Simulator live stream. I'm back finally after a little bit of an illness. Back to flying. Today, we're going from Dushanbe to Manas, where it's in Tajikistan, to Kyrgyzstan. I'm your host, pilot, lead singer, and driver of the airplane, Uncle B. Welcome. We'll get started here in just a moment. We got a long flight. It says 3.5 hours, but I think we're going to get there a little bit sooner, maybe around about 3 hours-ish. It's going to be a long one, though, and we got to put some fuel in the tanks, make sure we have more than enough to get us there, and then we're going to do an ILS approach into Manas on runway 8. I'll show that while we're waiting for everybody to pop in and say hello, if they so desire. So we're going to go for the Jeddah 1 arrival. So we're going to go to Gasta to Jeddah right here. And then our approach goes from Jeddah all the way into Manas. 3,400 feet is our expected altitude for final. Should be fairly straightforward. I don't know if the ILS approach is actually going to work, but we have the information. We have a plan, and we will execute accordingly. Our flight takes us partially, I believe, into Kazakhstan airspace. I think as we come over here, we'll be in Kazakhstan airspace for just a short while, possibly, and then back into Kyrgyzstan airspace. I forgot that this is right near the Kazakhstan border. But I have been to this airport twice. Once on my way to Afghanistan, and once on the way, and then coming back home, heading home to from Afghanistan. We stopped here both times. I have spawned in at the airport already. It does not look like what it does in real life, I can tell you that. But that's where we're flying today. And then next Saturday, we're going to depart again from Dushanbe and head to Turkmenistan, the opposite direction. We're going to go going this way. It's on next Saturday, to the left of us. So, say hello. Let me know. Make sure everything looks okay, sounds okay. If somebody can say something in the chat, let me know that you can hear me okay. I think everything's working. Let me double check labs. Yep, mic's working, but I just need somebody to say, yep, I can hear you loud and clear, or... Okay, Joseph, thank you. Joseph's here. Surprise, surprise. I didn't think you were going to make it, young man. Thought you'd be hungover from your tipsiness last night. All right, let's get in here. We got a lot to do to get set up, and then we'll get in the air and get going. I had a couple viewers, and then everybody, and they're like, "Oh, great, not this guy again." Oh, jeez. Well, I won't miss it for the world. Okay, Joseph. Well, if the pub's a calling, you won't be here. If West Ham called you and said they were offering you box seats for the match, you wouldn't be here. Let's be honest. And that's okay. I need to get some lights on. I just had it. There we go. Okay, now we can kind of see a little bit. Let's change the time. Hello, Infidel Farman. How are you? Nice to see you here. Let's get rid of this. Let's make sure all this is where it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's been... Oop. Oh, I gotta add some fuel to the... Let's do that real quick before I forget. Let's just go 100%. Screw it. Let's just Gas it all the way up. Alright, let's get that set. And let's get our fuel pumps on. Out there, that there. Alright, let's get this thing fired up. Oh, I gotta put my... Alright, there's one. There's two. Alright, let's get our batteries on. Get the ground power out of here. We can turn fuel pumps off. Alright, we're at two. Okay, so we're gonna try to get up to about, let's go down here and set up our altitude. Oh, let's do one other thing first. Procedure. Select arrival. Enter. Enter. Move that. Select approach. Enter. Oops. LS7. That's all. Yep. Enter. Enter. Activate. Enter. Activate approach. All right, perfect. All right, we got to get some altitude in here. We go for 15,000. All right, I think we are all set. Oh. We need the frequency 11170 for ILS approach. All right, that should be in there. There we go. Perfect. All right, I like it. Switch that to high frequency just to be on the safe side. I think we are all set. Get rid of that. All right, we are. Oh, let's get our lights on. That might help. Okay, let's talk to somebody, shall we?
Dushanbe ground Clipper 237 with Alpha request taxi for takeoff north departure.
Clipper 237 taxi to and hold short of runway 09er using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 119.2 when ready.
Which way?
Taxiing hold short runway 09er via taxiway Alpha Clipper 237.
Looks like we gotta go all the way down. Oh, it's behind us. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go. like we're at some kind of metropolis here. So how's everybody doing? Everybody doing all right? Joseph, you okay, young man? How you doing, infidel? The routes. Yeah, I'm much better than I was over almost 2 weeks ago. It was, man, I tell you, I was so sick. Info. Let's make sure this is working. Perfect. Yeah, that Tuesday I was watching Kev, and I just felt it. Like, you get those aches and pains, like that, muscle pain and all that, the body aches and all that, when you're starting to feel sick. That's exactly what happened, and I was just like, I'm going to bed. I was shivering so bad I had to take a wool blanket and put it over me just to warm up. I was just really out of it. And thankfully everything's pretty much over with now. Well, we'll use all the runway we can get. Really, we should be turning here, but that's okay. We'll go all the way down here. So yeah, I'm getting better. Little minor cough still, but for the most part, I feel significantly better than I did almost 2 weeks ago. It would just kick my butt. I was just taking medicine, going back to bed. So, thankfully, I didn't have like any appetite for 2 days. And thankfully my appetite returned, and just kind of, I'm trying not to eat like super greasy food if I can help it, but sometimes you just kind of crave a Jack's burger or something, All right, there we go.
Dushanbe Tower Clipper 237 ready for departure to the north at runway 09er.
I think I pronounced that correctly.
Clipper 237 wind 09er, 5 at 5. Departure to the north approved. Cleared for takeoff runway
Trusty
09er.
salutes have been rendered.
Cleared for takeoff runway 09er Clipper 237.
The instructions, let's line up and get the heck out of here. We got a lot of flying ahead of us. Got a nice long runway to land at there at Manas. And I couldn't tell you which way we came in when we landed there in 2012. It's I think it was kind of early in the morning, so it wasn't completely light out. It was still dark where we landed, so it was hard to tell which way. I just remember, I think the terminal building was to my right, I think, possibly. I don't remember which side of the aircraft I was sitting. But it was cold. Like, it was really freaking cold there. think we're good right here. Let's pop back inside. Let's lock the tail wheel. All right. I think we're all set. Let's go. Yeah, I like to keep an eye on the speed. There we go. All right, let's go. So it looks like we're going to make a bit of a left turn once we're in the air. It's like we got to get over those mountains and get going. Yay! We might have to hand fly it for a little bit. That's okay, we got this. The rudder dance. Flight. We'll see.
Clipper 237 continue for north departure.
You got it, buddy.
Dushanbe Tower Clipper 237 continue for north departure.
All right, here we go. Oh, pretty big rail yard there. Hello, Mick. How are you? Good to see you here. How things going with the PC? Is it alive and kicking? Or is it a fried chicken? If it's a fried chicken, what role did Joseph play in that fiasco? Okay, it's alive. It's a good start. Good to hear. Now it's getting everything else installed and sorted, huh? And of course you got to remember all the passwords again. Hopefully you wrote them down this time.
Dushanbe Tower Clipper 237 frequency change. Dushanbe approach Clipper 237 is type 4 miles northeast of Dushanbe 5,300 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Clipper 237 Dushanbe approach. Squawk 6254.
Squawk 625 for Clipper 237.
Try to keep an eye on these mountains and to keep an eye on the chat.
Contact 4 miles northeast of Dushanbe, 5,800 feet. Cleared through the Charlie airspace.
Gotta get up over these mountains.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Clipper 237.
Autopilot engaged. Worried about losing speed and the plane stalling. I think we're okay. This is going to be a bit of a long one today. Good thing I took a shower before I started the stream, because as soon as I'm done here I got to run over to Sam's Club and get some stuff. No rest for the weary. should have looked at this area to see what the terrain looked like for departure. I think we'll get over this. Superchargers. Speed. Well, at least we have some scenery to look at on the way out. Just to the right here, and try to find these little low areas. Turn back to the left here. Doing all right otherwise, Mick? Now that the PC's up and running, everything good? I like those pictures of that area you and your wife went to the other day. They're really nice. Hello, Bex. How are you? Hey everybody, it's Bex. Doing all right, Bex? Have you gotten your Easter candy already set aside? You better get it. Maybe it's on sale. Get your Easter chocolates. I know they already got the Easter candy out of at the Walmart here. I have to say I'm pretty happy with this so far. Hand flying it right now. Oh no, Easter chocolate way expensive. Probably still bucks. You have to get one of those chocolate bunnies. That'll last you a bit. One of the big ones. Well, you'll wait for it to go on sale after Easter. Joseph could buy it. You know he'll say Glenn can buy it for you. Joseph would buy it for himself before he'd buy it for you. What's up with the shouting of the names? Alright, we're on our way now, finally. We're almost out of danger here. If I make one in Glenn and you and Bex, because I'm kind of like that. That's because he wants to know where you all are and he can stalk you. That's how kind he is. Yeah. I'm sure Glenn would have something different to say there, Joseph. I did see a 3-pack of, I think it goes on sale later this week. Better get the money off your mom then. Yep. They had the three pack of Heinz ketchup, the big thing of like the 44 ounce or whatever, for a reasonable price at Sam's Club. Oh man, probably cost me an arm and a leg to ship it to Bex though. Let's just go to 16 just to be safe. Alright, I think we're almost at 14.
Clipper 237, contact Dushanbe Center on 133.1. Good day.
133.1 Clipper 237. Goodbye.
Okay.
Dushanbe Center
I think
Clipper
we're in good shape
237,
now.
13,900 feet.
Clipper 237, Dushanbe Center altimeter 30.1
It's closed up, and we need to get that on, and we need to get we gotta leave this. There we go. I'm gonna change our tanks. There we go. All right. We're cooking with Crisco now. That was a heck of a climb out. Alright, look at what we had to deal with. I don't think there was a better way out of there. But we got it. We did good. We did real nice. Oh Lord. Don't start that again, Joseph. What is it with you two lately? Huh? Don't make Mick time somebody out. You know he will. How are you, Amela? I had cold, he's been pranking you all week. Well, you would think maybe by now you would not buy into it anymore, Joseph. You know? Just saying. I had cold fried chicken for dinner last night. Yeah, it's warm here today too. I was surprised. I put my sweater on this morning and then the cat came in and ate and she went right back out and I was like, oh, no wonder why she wants back outside. It's kind of warm out. She only stays inside for a while if it's cold out. But if it's warm, she'll go back outside just to. I know the other day she came in and then she ate and went in her spot in my chair and went to sleep. Yeah, just whole fried chicken. I bought it at. It wasn't KFC. God, I can't remember the last time I actually had KFC, but no, this was store bought at Publix. It was pretty good. It's not like the greatest, but you know, it'll fill you up. The only thing the wings it's like a waste. I don't know why they put those in there, because there's really no meat on it. Yeah, I know. Mick said it's warm, so if it's warm there, it's warm with you too, Joseph. I think we can all agree today is a warm day all around. How about that? Bex, do you have any thoughts on the weather? Infidel, if you're here, what about you? Do you got any thoughts on the weather? Is it warm in Houston? Oh, just the cold fried chicken for dinner last night. That's all. Nothing to me. Nothing else. Just chicken. And a couple drumsticks and a breast. I just don't like the wings because it's just like a waste of. I'd rather get like a couple more drumsticks or something, you know. There's just there's never any meat on the wings. I think we're doing good. Oh, I need to. Let's get that back a little bit. Should get a little bit more speed now. Never fails. Let's see. Let me just double check something here. Auto-lean. Yep. Alright. I think we are all set. It's not going to be the fastest flight, that's for sure. An hour and a half. Boy, that was quick. First it was like 3 hours, and now we're looking at an hour and a half. Ooh, lamb and chicken with rice. That does sound good. We might have to climb a little bit higher. It doesn't seem like we're high enough to get over this area in front of us here. Alright, let's go for 17. Nice lazy climb. What if it had ketchup all over it, Bex? Would you eat it then? What if you just smother it in ketchup, Bex? Don't think that would help. What about barbecue sauce? A nice, well, we know it wouldn't be mint sauce. I don't think. I know that's how Mick eats his. Hates tomatoes but loves ketchup. Or the same person that apparently hates. Well, salt isn't good for you. Sea salt's supposed to be the better salt of the two. Apparently. I don't know if that's true or not. I could see, like, I could get the reasoning why, like, most people, you look at a tomato and most people kind of like, ketchup's just, it's processed, you know. It's tomato based, but it's not like an actual tomato. not a slice of tomato. That's why I ask, because sometimes if if people have something with like a ranch or ketchup or mustard or whatever, they're like, yeah, I could eat that with this, but not. Excuse me. Well, I mean, I guess you could say it's artificial stuff, but I don't know, even 17,000, we might have to go to 18. My favorite, I'm partial to mustard, to be honest. I think we're barely going to make it over this mountain here. Well, it's definitely going to be it's not going to be a fast flight today, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm partial to mustard, I think. Well, because I think it's like a mustard. Wasabi is actually probably my favorite. It's just a different type of mustard. I did have sushi for lunch yesterday, though. Oh, man. I really needed that. That was some good stuff. Yeah, I can handle wasabi. I learned a long time ago to handle it. Probably in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. Yeah. Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's I've seen people dare, like on a dare, they don't put some like soy sauce on it. They just eat it plain, and they're just like, oh, like it'll really clear out your sinuses. I've had habanero salsa, and that I think is for me is far worse than wasabi. Habanero, anything habanero, woo. It tastes good, but boy, you're gonna pay for it later. Let's get a picture here. I don't know if I got one yet. I can't. don't think this plane is really meant to be at this altitude. I think once we get over this area here, we can kind of drop a little bit, pick up some speed. Not that I'm in a hurry, but it says, I mean, look, we're only an hour and 42, so yeah, we're not getting there very quickly. That's for sure. But I think once we're over this, let's have a look at little nav. See, I think we can drop down to about now this arrival is not the same. We're gonna go here, but the next portion is in a different location. I think it's like somewhere around here. So, but this will kind of give us an idea of how we're getting it. Yeah, we might be able to drop down a little bit and pick up some speed. We just had to get over this part. Excuse me. So yeah, we'll be back next Saturday now. I did remind some folks, I'm just going to say it again now. Tonight we go forward an hour, so it'll be, I think, 1 o'clock UK time when I go live next Saturday. Still the same time Central, 8 o'clock, but I think it'll be like 1 o'clock. But I'll double check my times once the time changes here overnight tonight, and then I can make sure I give you guys an update as to when I'll be live UK UTC time. So you guys make your change if you are, I don't know, this this is 2020.
Clipper 237 contact cocaine
I
center
think
on
I downloaded the
132.1.
SIM update that was released the other day, but I gotta double
Going
check.
to 132.1 Clipper 237.
But no, I'm still flying in
Cokehead Center
2020
Clipper 237 flight level 180.
until
Clipper 237 Cokehead Center altimeter 30.1 tree radar contact.
until things kind of settle down. I think my plan is once I get back from Flight Sim Expo and a trip to California, I'm gonna try to start flying in 2024, because I think excuse me, by then things will be in a much better state. I've heard mixed things. Some people really like the new SIM update. Hey, Tenchel. And other people are kind of like, aren't too sure about it. So I think I'm just gonna wait for some more updates and stuff, and then hopefully after, because I was like, my gut instinct was they delayed the release of Sim Update 1, I think, by a couple weeks, which is understandable. They want to make sure they get as many things fixed as possible. Ooh, look at that. Oh, we got a bit of wind here. Look at that. Some turbulence coming through here. Ooh, a 37 knot wind coming off the back there. Look at that. So I think by the time I get back from the trip, well, my feeling was too, they needed to get some stuff going, because as the months count down to Flight Sim Expo, if things were not starting to get into a better state, I would have felt like they might as well have not shown up at Flight Sim Expo and just did like a video message or whatever and left it at that. But I think now that they're working on improving things, maybe things will kind of calm down now, but it's hard to tell, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer to start flying in that exclusively. I mean, this is still working pretty good. The graphics aren't, you know, like they're okay, you know, but stuff like this, you could tell where they have different photogrammetry for the area, you know. Part of it just may be when they took some of this stuff, it was clouded, you know, it was clouded over, so you don't get the sharp detail, but in other areas it's very well defined. I don't know if it'll be like that in 2024. All I'm trying to do is get flights completed in the DC-3 and collect as many country flags as I can, just to get that achievement in FS Hub. I'm just kind of achievement chasing. I think I only have 6 more flights and then I get the achievement for flying the DC-3 in FS Hub. So, alright, I think once we're over this area coming up here in front of us, I think we'll start dropping some altitude, and that way we can get some speed back. Maybe I didn't need to fill up the tanks all the way, but we still have 247 nautical miles to go. So we'll get there in an hour and 18 minutes to that nav point, I think. But that might be all that's left in the flight, but let's have a look on a little map. See where we are. We still got a ways to go. We're not even halfway through yet. So yeah, we'll drop down to about 18. We'll go to 11. We'll go to 12,000 just to. I think we'll be okay there, possibly. Let's have a look. There's still some areas. I think if we go to 12, I think we'll be all right. We can go ahead and do that then. Put us on a nice 500-foot descent. We'll throttle back just a little bit so we don't overspeed. We'll do that. I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to deal with. It really, that's the only, I mean, it is what it is. But I don't really care about the longer daylight or whatever. I know some people do. I'm not bothered one way or the other about it. So, no, the only thing I don't like is if you, like, I have watches that are, like, the watch I'm wearing right now is Bluetooth connectivity, so when it changes time, when the time changes tonight, it'll automatically update my watch. If you have a quartz watch or a watch that's, you know, that you have to go and change everything before you go to bed, you know, otherwise you wake up, you're like, okay, what's the correct time? You know. That's the only thing I never liked about it, because, you know, you just go like, okay. I remember growing up, you always, you know, like the night before you go to sleep, you adjust your clock ahead 1 hour, and then you're, but you still question it. You're like, is that the correct time now? What time is it? But I always felt weird, like going to bed when it was still daylight out. You know, because I had to do that growing up. Be like, oh no, it's time for bed, and it's like, but it's still like daylight out. Yeah, but it's like 8 o'clock. So, but it's daylight out. You know, it just throws you off. I don't know. Okay, we got out of the crazy stuff there behind us. Now we can drop some altitude. Yeah, I don't really think that plane was meant to fly at 18,000 feet. Like, I think it can do it, but it was like very slow. Yeah, I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest. I think it's just a pain in the butt for people who like to wear watches to have to set their stuff either before they go to sleep or double check it when they get up in the morning. You know, because most everybody has a phone, you know, a smartphone now. It should be updated overnight. I always restart my phone just to be on the safe side, though. Yeah, most people, you know, I think most people have gotten away from that. You know, like most people don't even wear a traditional watch anymore. Everybody has they have some kind of a smartwatch. Now, my Casio isn't necessarily a smartwatch. It just has Bluetooth connectivity, so it's a great travel watch because whenever I go into a new time zone, I just I open the app on my phone and then hold down a button on my watch, and it automatically updates the time and the time zone that I'm in. And then I can track it has the GMT time, the UTC time, and then I can add other cities so that no matter where I am, you know, I can say, oh, this is the time, like in California, for instance. But I always remember they're 2 hours behind me, so if I call, it's like I can't. If I call right now, it's only 7 o'clock going on 7 o'clock in the morning there. So chances are my mom and stepdad are not going to be awake. So, but no, you know, a manual clock. You know, you got to change it before you go to bed tonight, just to make sure when you wake up in the morning, you got the right time. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's, you know, this is the actual correct time. But all right, almost at 14, so we're getting to 12. I think we can live comfortably at 12,000 feet. Wow, look at this, almost like a high desert area. Look at this. I like finding stuff like this because you have all these colors of in the dirt. Look at that. That's pretty amazing. Look at the thing. Oh, I had to joke with British Ace the other day. He posted a thing on YouTube, a poll about what was the best British route on Train Sim Roll 5. So I said Sandpatch Grade for the win. Because I know a lot of people in the UK cannot stand Sandpatch Grade. They can't handle the American freight routes. I had to say it though, just for a wind up. We near, yeah, in a couple minutes I think we'll get ready for some ads. Surprisingly, we haven't played. Yeah, it is. I haven't played Train Sim World 5 really, so I don't really know. Like he mentioned like 3 different routes, and I'm just like, I was just saying it because I know usually a lot of those people in his on his channel cannot stand American routes at all. Freaking like new model. What was his name? New Model Bus or whatever that kid's name was. Always, whenever they release a freight route, he just loses freaking mind over it. Well, I mean, trains, it's very much similar to Flight Sim. There's something for everybody. You don't have to, like they're commenting about PMDG is going to charge a fee if you want your 737, for instance, or 777 to have all the same sort of walking around in the aircraft like in 2024. They're going to charge you a fee for an update. Now you don't have to buy it, right? You don't have to do all that. It's just a thing of, if you want to do that sort of thing. But it's, for them, it's extra work to create that possibility. Now, I don't know how much they're going to charge. Can't imagine it'd be very much. But it's, but people were like, oh, PM, it's like, well, nobody's forcing you to buy anything. It's the same thing in Train Sim. Just because the freight route came out does not mean you have to buy it in order to enjoy the other stuff that you already have. You don't have to buy anything from any developer in the sim. But I know a lot of people do. But so like the big shiny toy right now is the A350. But for $90, that's a lot to spend on one plane. I'll wait till the ads are finally playing. I didn't see the warning. Okay, I'm back. Just checking over the. Now that we're at a sensible altitude. Get some speed back in there. So what I was saying was, would I buy the A350 right now? No. It's not that it's not, like, I'm sure it's a very good plane, but I just don't, I can't justify nearly $90 for a plane. It just seems to me like that's a bit excessive. But there's people who are going to buy it, and that's their prerogative. I'm not going to tell them not to. Yeah, but it's just, but it's one of those. But the market now is so saturated with jetliners that it's like you have too much to pick from. There's just too many planes. So it's like, well, I don't really need all this. I don't need another another jetliner. So am I sure it's worth it? Possibly. Do I want to find out one way or the other? No, not really. It's just, that's too expensive of a. I can't afford for it to be a turn into a mess. So I don't. Yeah, but anyway, there was something else I was going to talk about. Yeah, I know what it was now. Normally, whenever before I fly, in the lead up to before we see each other on Saturdays, I usually come up with some kind of a story time or something happened during the week and it reminded me of a story or something. So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not upset that Kev for pointing this out to me the other day, or like last week, or I think it was earlier this week. I can't remember because the days just seem to be so kind of melded together since I was sick. It was just like I couldn't remember half the days, it seems. Anyway, he brought up how whenever I fly, I tend to have a plan. But I don't think he meant it as an insult. It's just an observation, right? Which is fun. And he's right. Marbles on stream. Uh-oh. I might have an addiction now. Is it better than the other gambling that Kev had on his channel? Anyway, so he said you always have a plan when you fly, and it's true. And part of that, old habits die hard. When I was in the military, especially as a medic, when you roll, if you got called to, say somebody's injured, right? Say you were on a convoy, somebody got hit with an IED blast. Before you get to that person, you're already formulating a plan in your mind what you're going to do. You always, maybe the way you make the plan is that you're expecting the absolute worst case scenario, right? And that's okay because you're like, okay, I got to have tourniquets ready. I'm going to have gauze ready, all this stuff to stop the bleeding, and then I can start my other assessments and take care of other, stuff. And that's okay. That was the best way to handle it. But also, when we were training before deployments, they always, well, I wouldn't say they always, some of our instructors got into our head that if you control yourself and control the situation, you had a better chance of doing everything correctly when you're supposed to. And and they always said, before you do anything, take a deep breath, because it gives you a moment of pause, and you allow yourself to gain that clarity of, okay, now I have a plan in my head, and this is what I'm going to do. And either you adjusted your plan on the fly, no pun intended, or you found that the situation wasn't nearly as bad as you expected, and you didn't need all the things that you already were planning to grab out of your aid bag. So when I, early on, I didn't know anything when I first started in flight sim. I didn't know half the stuff that I know now. Probably majority of the stuff that I know now, I didn't know at all. And so, yes, it's nice to have a plan, because then if something happens, I can take action and resolve the problem to the point that it's like, okay, I feel comfortable that at this point these things are not happening, I have to fire the autopilot and land manually, for instance. I know, like, we have a flight plan and we're taking an ILS approach. I know by this point I need to be at this altitude, so that if something doesn't work, okay, I'm at an altitude now where I can take control of the plane and put it on the ground myself. So it's always good to have a plan, I think. I hate to say this, and it's kind of an admission of guilt, but there's plenty of times in my life where I didn't have a plan. I wasn't thinking about the future or anything like that. I was just thinking about the moment. And sometimes that works to your benefit, and other times you're just like, I should have had a plan. And when you don't, you just feel kind of like, okay, I feel kind of lost here. What am I going to do? Like if you suddenly find yourself having to answer questions about selling a house, for instance. Well, okay, I don't know anything about this. I don't know where the keys are. I don't know. What am I going to do? I don't have a plan in place. So having a plan helps, because then at least we can take action if the plan starts to fall apart, or we have a backup in place. But again, I'm not digging on Kev for pointing that out. But part of it is my time in the military. I always try to have some kind of a plan. Now, like the last time we flew, a couple Saturdays back, when we did the short flight, and we took off, and it was overcast. We didn't see the mountains until we were right there, and it was like, okay, I gotta fly manually now until we get past all this. Yes, it's fun, but I should have. But I didn't know the area, right? And that's one of those things that if you fly and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna wing it, and you're in a plane that cannot handle getting up to a higher altitude very quickly without almost stalling the plane, well, you kind of bring the bad stuff on yourself. Luckily, I was in the Vertigo, which can handle that sort of stuff. But if I was in a biplane that doesn't have a lot of oomph in the engine, man, that would have been a very long flight, and I would have been in trouble very quickly, because I would have been having to like zigzag through the mountains, right? And sometimes that's okay, but it's always good to have a plan. That's the way I look at it. But thank you for pointing that out, Kev. If you're listening, if you're lurking. No, it's just old habits die hard sometimes. I mean, even when I go to the store, I try to have a plan. May not be a grocery list, but I try to have it like, okay, I gotta go get this, and this, and then I want to be at the checkout as quickly as possible so I can get on with my day. That's my plan when I go to Sam's Club here in a little while. And no, Joseph, having a plan does not mean, oh, I'm going to have like 12 wickets and then call it a day. No, it should be, I'm going to have a nice drink and then I'm going to go home, not try to drink half the bar or 3/4 of it in one sitting. I feel a lot better. Yeah, it was just, man, it really kicked my butt. Yeah, I feel a whole lot better now. I still have a bit of a cough, but it's not nearly as bad that last week. Whew, man, I was just like, I'd wake up, take medicine, go right back to bed, and I just stayed in bed most of the time. And then it's like, okay, now I got to start eating something. I got to start getting something in my stomach. So yeah, I'm much better. I don't think I'm completely 100%, but I have a cup full of drinks. Yeah, okay, Joseph. That's. The way you make it sound sometimes is like you're trying to drink up half the bar before you go home. I know, I used to do the same thing when I was young. You're just like, oh, let me just keep drinking. And then you wake up the next day and you're just like, man, I feel like garbage. Can't imagine why. Well, because you can't say no. Nothing wrong with nursing one drink the entire night. Of course, the bar doesn't like that because they want your money. They're happy to give you more than one cup full of drink. They want you to drink as many cupfuls as they can sell you before you finally say, okay, go home. Nope, exactly. Not until the bar's closing, then they're like, okay, it's the last round. Then they'll tell you. But other than that, they're going to let you keep spending your money all night. And your quote-unquote friends are going to tell you the same thing. Oh, come on, man, one more round. Okay. They're not going to tell you to stop either. As long as you're pulling out that money or that card, they're gonna be like, let's keep going. And then you look at your bank account the next day, you're like, how did I spend so much money? Well, that's why. Let's look at the weather while we're here, boy. It's in the button too. 46 knot wind coming, 259 degrees. Nearly the west. Wow, look at that.
Clipper 237 contact approach on 125.6. Good day. 125.6 Clipper 237. Goodbye. Approach Clipper 237, 12,000 feet.
Clipper 237, approach altimeter 30.09 radar contact. Continue.
You continue.
Clipper 237 contact Cocan Center on 1 tree
Well, why
2
don't you
decimal 1.
contact me?
Good day.
I don't want to contact you. I don't
Going to
have
1 tree
a
2
lot
decimal
now.
1 Clipper
I've
237.
calmed down during spring before I
Cocan
used
Center
to
Clipper
drink a lot.
237 12,000 feet.
Clipper 237 Cocan Center altimeter tree 0 decimal 09er radar contact
so.
continue. Clipper 237 contact approach on 125 decimal 6.
We're near somebody's
day.
airport. What airport are we near?
125 decimal 6 Clipper 237. Goodbye.
Right there.
Approach Clipper 237 12,000 feet.
Clipper 237 approach altimeter tree 0 decimal
Namangan.
09er radar contact continue.
Near Namangan. Alright, we're more than halfway there now. We're about halfway. Anywho. Where was... Yeah, if you say so. I know how it is. I used to be the same way. Well, I don't have 12 drinks. I only have 10. I'm cutting back. I know there used to be times when I was in Germany. I'd have one beer the whole night, but I would just sip on it. They weren't happy about it because they wanted me to sell more beer, right? Let's look at our situation. I think we have more than enough to get there. I think I overfilled it. I mean, there was even times where I'd just be like, I don't even want to go to the bar. Or I'd go and I'd just have a soda, but even then, there was times when I was at Fort Riley, I'd be the designated driver. At most places we used to go, if you say you're the designated driver, you'd have free soda. Because it was better to have that than get busted driving intoxicated when you were in the military. Because that was a big... You were going to get in big trouble. So we have some... Let's see where we are on a little nav map right now. So we still are heading towards the correct nav point right here, Gasta. I think we're okay. Keep an eye out on this. I think we'll clear all this right here. We'll keep an eye out.
Clipper 237, you're leaving my airspace radar service. Terminated squawk 7000. Frequency change approved.
Namagan. Namana.
Squawk 7000. Frequency change approved Clipper 237. Osh Center Clipper 237 is type 1 4 miles south of Uniform Alpha Kilo Romeo 12,000 feet. Request flight following.
Clipper 237 Osh Center. Squawk 0151.
Squawk 0151 Clipper 237.
Clipper 237 radar contact 13 miles south of Uniform Alpha Kilo Romeo 12,000 feet. Altimeter tree 0.10.
Roger Clipper 237.
It appears. Well, we need to go a little bit up and up. Just to be on the safe side. Let's go to 14. Shouldn't lose too much speed. Of farmland here. Look at that. What they grow here. Yeah, we might have made it over 12, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Go ahead and switch to the main takes and use up some fuel for the rest of the flight, and then we'll keep the auxiliary stuff for any other issues we may run into. I don't even know where the nearest airport is if we issues here. Next closest one. Oh, there's too. That's a nice 14,000 foot runway there. Or we could go for the coast. That's 12,000 feet. I guess it's cool. We are alternate airport. Yeah, because then we can just, if need be, we just follow this road or whatever down to the waterfront. How do we find the airport? But I don't think we'll have any problems landing here in Bishkek, Manas. Well, it's certainly very scenic, that's for sure. Alright, we're getting there, folks. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If not, you know who the complaint department is. Joseph does like to hear those complaints. He told me the other day, he said, "Oh, I wish they would complain more. I like it." Yes, nice scenery today, that's for sure. Not perfect, but that's alright. At least we don't, it's not just boring flat land the entire time. Looks like we'll just get over this stuff and then hopefully we can descend. Although, let's see. Let's have a look at our chart. So we have to be at 14,000 feet when we reach Gasta. And then we have 21 nautical miles to get to Jeddah. We have to be at 6,000 feet there. And then there, we got to be at 3,400 feet by the time we get to the turn-in point there. That's the beginning of the ILS approach. So, I don't know, can he afford it? That's the question. You know, well, I'm not gonna say. I'm glad we climbed up a little bit. I don't think 12,000 would have done it. See, that would just be weird. Going to a bar with my dad. I couldn't do it. I used to feel weird about drinking around my parents to be in general. It just that doesn't seem right, but that's just me. Uh-oh. Are we gonna get through this? I think so. By the hair on Joseph's chin, we're gonna make it over this area here. I said I couldn't imagine going to a pub or a bar with my parents and my dad. It just doesn't feel like, that just seems kind of odd to me. But that's just me. I couldn't do it. There's, like, you know, years ago when I visit my mom and stepdad up in Chico, up by the Chico area. Oh, you want a beer? No. I don't feel comfortable drinking around my parents. It just feels kind of weird to me, you know. But that's just me. I haven't had it. Well, honestly, I haven't had a drink in like over a decade now. Well, no. No, it's been 6, 7 years. Seems like a decade, but no, it's been like 6 or 7 years since I've had a drink. Trust me, there are times when I'm at Publix, they have the whole rack of beer and stuff like that, you know, like all those coolers, and I'm just like, oh, no. Nope, can't do it. Liver is damaged enough as it is. I can't afford any more damage. My liver enzymes are going to be through the roof here later this month when my doctor does my blood tests and all that. He'd be like, why are your liver enzymes high? Oh, because I was taking Tylenol because I wasn't feeling well, so I was trying to take Tylenol to keep the fever down. Okay. It even says there's a warning. If you take too much Tylenol, it'll damage your liver. All right. What about this area? Are we gonna make it? We're gonna make it by the hair on Joseph's chinny chin chin. Yeah, I always feel weird. Like I couldn't drink around my family or parents or whatever. It just feels kind of. It feels wrong, you know. We may not be high enough for this. I don't know. This is that. Yeah, this is a little bit of. Yeah. Like I try not to even swear. No, see if I can. Oh, I wouldn't dare swear in front of my grandmother. Oh, that would be the absolute worst. Not her and my grandfather were alive. I don't think I ever heard my grandparents swear. To be honest. They had other words they used, but you knew when they used some certain words, that was like their way of swearing. Uh oh. My senior drill instructor, when I went to basic training, he didn't like swearing. I think there was only one time I heard him swear, and when that happened, everybody was like, "Oh, things are really messed up if he's swearing." Like he never said BS. He'd say banana poop. That's his banana poop. But you knew what he was trying to say, but the first time you hear it, you kind of laugh because you're just like, what? Man, I can't think that we're... It's like every time I think we're at a safe enough altitude or something else that's in the way that I'm just kind of like, let me just get a little bit more altitude.
Clipper 237 contact.
Hey, we're talking to Bishkek Center. Yay.
Good day.
We're getting
Going
close.
to 132.2 Clipper 237. Bishkek Center Clipper 237 14,800 feet.
Clipper 237
Must be
Bishkek
some-
Center altimeter 29.98 radar contact continue.
Must be some really crazy winds through these mountains. Oh, I did fire up the 737 yesterday for the first time in a while. Took me a few minutes to remember everything, but we got it started up. Yeah, it's quite nice. Well, actually, so when the plan is this, once we get done with the DC-3 stuff, let me see how many. Yeah, the PMDG 737. I would fly. Let's see. Hold on. So the exhibitionist, I need 6 more flights. So it'll be 5 after today. So once I get that, it's the 50 flights in the DC-3, the C-47, and the Supermarine Spitfire. Then we're going to go to the fighter pilot. I got 30 out of 50 flights and 32 out of 100 hours for that. Yeah, back on the PC now, fingers crossed, and now downloading 2020. Perfect. Yeah, the Burdock one is just... let me get back here, so now I just may do the short flights in a fighter plane during the week or whenever I do them, just to get those knocked out, just to get that achievement done. We may eventually start getting back in the 737 and do some company routes for Parasox airline, just to kind of break things back up again. Let's see if we can talk to. May not be close enough. Nope. Well, we gotta wait a little bit longer. So yeah, we may do some jetliner stuff, and that's a great thing because we can mix things up going forward. We can do some stuff in 2024, get our private pilot license and all that kind of stuff, get our company going. But then, you know, every so often we can do a jetliner flight in 2020 if we want. You know, and you certainly, if you have an A320 that you want to fly along in, you're more than welcome to do that. If you don't want to, if you don't have the 737, it's okay. All right, so we're at 15,000. I think we're just going to try to live right here. I think once we're on the other side of all this stuff in front of us, this mountain range here, once we're on the other side of that, I think then we'll start descending. Nice moon there. Now there was talk, and I think once when I go to Flight Sim Expo last year, Navigraph talked about their own sort of flight school in 2024 for the new sim. I think they'll talk more about that at Flight Sim Expo this year. I don't know how it's going to differ. Look at this. This is really fantastic. I think they'll talk more about that then. So that's something that I might do on stream.
Clipper 237, contact Amity Center on 132.4.
No, I don't want
Good
to talk
day.
to them. I want to talk to Manas.
132 decimal for Clipper 237.
Oh,
Goodbye. Almady Center Clipper 237 15,000 feet.
Clipper 237 Almady Center altimeter 29.89er radar contact.
all right. Yep. Once we're on the other side of this, I think we'll.
Almady Center Clipper 237. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Can I get a latte
Clipper
while we're at it
237
too?
Almady Center. Cleared through the Charlie airspace.
Cleared through Charlie airspace Clipper 237.
Okay. There it is.
Bishkek Tower Clipper 237 is 66 miles southwest 15,000 feet
Thank
with kilo
goodness.
to land.
Clipper 237, Bishkek Tower. Altimeter
That's what I'm talking
29.89er, wind 104 at 4.
You got it.
Fly straight in runway 08.
Fly straight in runway 08 Clipper 237.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go straight for 3,400 feet. We're just gonna go ahead and dial that in. So that way we're not waiting. We're not trying to get there. Let's do this. Let's get our. Start with. Fuels pumps. All right. Let's see. Our airport should be to the right of us. Yep, there it is. Picture here. Nice scenery today. Hopefully our flight next Saturday will be just as scenic. Excuse me. Alright, let's throw some flaps down. Yeah, very wide open sort of valley here. Plenty of space to maneuver around if you need to. More farm area here. I'm guessing maybe wheat is the main crop. Maybe oats. Yeah, it didn't take nearly as long as I expected it to. And to be honest, I was expecting a much longer flight. had to deal with that climb out of there, Dushanbe, get over the mountains and all that. But that was all right. We did pretty good with that. Let the ads play, and then by the time we get to lined up for approach, we should be good to go for the. Shouldn't have to worry about playing any more ads. And that's pretty much what we got left in the flight. So it looks like this is just named differently. It says Renat here, but it's going towards the same nav point that we have Jetto. So we're good to go. The ads play. All right, everybody's back. A little bit behind on the curve here for 3,400 feet. We're just passing past 7 on our way to 6. Too far off. down the descent now. Yeah, look at all these farmlands. Massive fields too. Oh, see the shadow across the ground. Let's see where we are in relation to our airport now. That's pretty much almost right in front of us. I think I see the beginnings of the runway lights. Off the right wingtip right there. You see lights right there. Buddies from one second. All right, almost at 3,400. The plan is coming together. All right, we got the ILS frequency dialed in. Yep, see lights. Alrighty, folks. Let's prepare for landing here in Manas. We'll be on the ground momentarily. Make sure your seatbelts are buckled. Buckled, not buckled, buckled. Don't give the cabin crew any grief. That includes you, Joseph. Shall we try the approach mode? That's the big question. Will it bring us in nice and gentle? That's the one. once we do that, we'll engage the approach mode and see how that brings us all the way in. If not, you know what we're gonna do. Fire the autopilot, land it ourselves. Let's clear here. One more notch of flaps. One more left to give. Here. We're below the clouds, so we can see the runway. Alright, there we go. Not quite lined up just yet. Turning.
Clipper 237, wind 114 at 4. Cleared to land runway 08.
Cleared to land runway 08 Clipper 237.
Ooh, okay. I have to land him in. We went way off the flight path. That's all right, we got this. Yeah, that wasn't over. That's okay. We had a plan. We adapted to it. 'Cause you never know when things are not going to work. Hey, there's the runway. Hey, look, we found it. A little high. really open anymore. That's all right. Oh, that's good.
Clipper 237, turn next taxiway.
Let's see how we did. We got a 72. Nice. Take it. Felt better than a 72. Yes, I'm prepared to make that call, Kev. How are you? Well, this airport may have been closed. I landed here in 2012 and again in 2013. 2012 when I was on my way to Afghanistan. 2013 when I was on my way back to the States. The Air Force is basically operating this airstrip. So when we left, they may have closed this thing permanently. I didn't even realize that there was X's on there.
Clipper 237, contact ground on 121.7.
121.7 Clipper 237. Goodbye.
So, all right, hold on. Let's do a couple things here. Let's get this turned off. Let's close these. Let's turn off. All right, now we can hear ourselves think.
Bishkek ground Clipper 237 taxi to parking.
Yeah, I didn't know because
parking via taxiway Alpha.
but we may have used
Taxiing
this.
to General Aviation
The Air
parking
Force may
via
have used
taxiway
this
Alpha
as a
Clipper 237.
kind of a transportation hub for folks going to Afghanistan or coming back from Afghanistan. Because when we're coming back, we flew out of here. We flew from Afghanistan to here, from Kandahar to here, from here to somewhere in Germany, Germany to Bangor, Maine, and then Bangor, Maine down to Hunter Army Airfield. So it was the flight home was just like ridiculously long. It seemed like. But we were here for about a week, maybe a week and a half, before we went to Afghanistan from here to Kandahar. But here we are. Air closed or not, we landed. We got the Kyrgyzstan flag now for the collection. Got a nice negative 72 landing rate. I'll take it. Because we had a plan, Kev. Plan didn't exactly work like we'd hoped it would, but we had a plan. Give a shout out to Kev. He was doing the Makar convoying last night. He likes to do the Makar, he calls it Makar Friday. It's a very noticeable difference, Kev. I was getting cursed at. Yeah. Yeah. Uh when you do your solo trucking, there's a very noticeable difference between that and the convoy. Like it's almost night and day. It's very weird how that works. All right, let's get that. Let's go ahead and shut the engines off. Shut the fuel off. Let's get the doors open so our passengers can disembark safely. There's a bot in here. Where? Who's the bot? Which do I prefer? I prefer solo because, and I'll tell you why. It's nothing against the people you drive with, but there's always some kind of chaos when you're driving with other people. And I don't know if that's like sometimes it comes across as intentional, or if it's just top of the night bot comment. Hold on. I'm not sure where. Making me feel sick. Nice landing. Oh, that sounds like a bot. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I didn't see it. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of it. Tenacious turquoise. Huh. I didn't even see it. Thank you for handling it, mods. Appreciate that. Yeah. I kind of like, because it just seems when you're doing your own doing your own trucking, it's not as chaotic. I mean, you kind of have your own chaos as it is, but when there's other drivers, there seems to be more chaos than normal. But that's just my take. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. Don't take that the wrong way. But I noticed it's very similar to when my friend Mick was trucking and his buddy Pulse. There was always this sense of chaos in the convoy, but when you're solo, it's like kind of calm. So anyway, let's wrap things up here before the ads start again. Boy, hour 58 in the air, not too shabby. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You know who to talk to. Just message Joseph. He likes to hear the complaints. He told me himself. I love the complaints. It's fantastic. I'm gonna try, Kev. I did the short already last night while you guys were trucking. But in the medium is, hold on real quick. I'll try to wrap this up before. The short is only 57 nautical miles, and that's in Iceland. Although the way I came in, it was a downhill runway, and I landed on the downhill part. The medium flight's 271 nautical miles. That's in Iran. Both pretty decent sized airports, I believe. So the only thing is no charts. I'm pretty sure there won't be any charts for that. But anyway, I gotta get going. I gotta get to Sam's Club, so I'll try to be back for the flight at 1 o'clock my time. I'll see you guys next Saturday. I'll post an update once the Yeah, the Iceland flight, if we take a very slow plane, it's very frozen, not much daylight at all this time of year. But it'll be a very scenic flight if we take something slow like the Stearman or something. We done the medium before, the one in Iran, Twisted. But anyway, let me get things going, so I can get over to Sam's Club and get the shopping done. So anyway, do enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, early Sunday already for some folks around the world. Don't forget, in America, we changed the clocks tonight. Make sure you check your clocks before you go to bed. Do what you got to do. Springing forward. Yay! I have been and always shall be your host, pilot, lead singer, driver of the airplane, Uncle B. Until next Saturday, peace, live long and prosper.